Welcome to True Crime Case Files, the podcast that delves deep into the shadows of unresolved mysteries and chilling crimes. Today, we're exploring a series of mysterious deaths that cast a dark cloud over the small town of Plymouth, New Hampshire. Join us as we unravel the tragic events that unfolded at Plymouth State University in the icy grip of January 2010. In the quiet town of Plymouth, New Hampshire, known for its picturesque landscapes and the tranquil campus of Plymouth State University, the community was rocked by a tragedy that would leave an indelible mark on its history. Melina Demetriou, an 18-year-old freshman, originally from the suburban tranquility of Walpole, Massachusetts, became the unsuspecting victim of a mysterious death that would puzzle investigators and strike fear into the hearts of her fellow students. Melina, a recent graduate of Walpole High School, had chosen Plymouth State for its reputable English program and the promise of a serene setting where she could nurture her dreams of becoming a novelist. Her family, comprising her parents, Alex and Marina, along with her younger brother Nick, had supported her decision, buoyed by her enthusiasm and dedication to her craft. She had settled into Grafton Hall, known for housing creative minds and youthful aspirations. Described by her peers as a vivacious and determined young woman, Melina was quickly making her mark on campus. Her Facebook profile, a collage of university life snapshots and literary quotes, was a testament to her integration into the social and academic fabric of the university. She had been particularly excited about the Introduction to Creative Writing course, often sharing her ideas on her blog, which she had aptly named Melina's Musings. In the days leading up to her untimely death, Melina's Twitter feed reflected the typical life of a college freshman in 2010, mentions of Lady Gaga's latest hit, Bad Romance, playing at student gatherings, and check-ins at the campus cafe where she'd sip on her preferred Starbucks caramel macchiato while discussing the works of J.D. Salinger, whose passing had recently stirred the literary community. Melina's dreams, however, were abruptly cut short, leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions and a family grappling with an unimaginable loss. As the investigation into her death unfolded, the serene winter backdrop of Plymouth State University was transformed into a scene from a crime novel, the kind that Melina had aspired to write, one where the ending was yet to be written. The morning of January 15, 2010, was marked by an ominous silence as a blanket of snow enveloped the campus of Plymouth State University. It was a day when the usual bustle of student life should have been stirring to life, but instead, a chilling discovery would disrupt the calm. At precisely 8:47 a.m., as the winter sky bore a somber hue of gray, the stillness of Grafton Hall was shattered. Melina Demetriou, an 18-year-old freshman whose aspirations had only just begun to take flight, was found unresponsive in her dormitory bed by her roommate, Clara Benson. The room, typically filled with the sounds of laughter and late-night study sessions, was eerily quiet, save for the muffled cries of disbelief from Clara as she stumbled upon the scene. The temperature outside hovered around the freezing mark, but the chill that ran through Clara was of a different nature entirely. In a frantic state, Clara reached for her BlackBerry, fingers trembling as she dialed 911. She had never imagined that her return from the communal bathroom would be met with such a harrowing sight. Clara, also a freshman, was known for her composed nature, but the shock of finding her roommate in such a state left her visibly distraught. She would later recount to the police how Melina had seemed perfectly fine the night before, discussing plans to attend the upcoming Winter Carnival, an annual highlight for the Plymouth community. The first responders arrived swiftly, their sirens cutting through the stillness of the morning. The dormitory, typically a hub of youthful energy, was now cordoned off as a potential crime scene. The authorities stepped into the room, a stark contrast to the snow-covered landscape outside, to find no immediate signs of violence. Melina lay as if asleep, her dreams and the promise of a new semester extinguished without apparent cause. As news of the tragedy began to spread, students huddled around televisions in the common areas, watching local news channels interrupt their coverage of the Haiti earthquake relief efforts to report on the death at Plymouth State. The campus, once a haven for education and growth, now faced the grim reality of a mystery that seemed to belong in the pages of a crime novel rather than their collegiate lives. The Plymouth Police Department, accustomed to the tranquility of a small college town, was thrust into the spotlight on January 15, 2010. Following the distress call at 8:50 a.m., the response was immediate and precise. Within minutes, the scene at Plymouth State University's Grafton Hall was swarming with the town's finest, led by seasoned investigators Detective John Marlowe and his partner, Detective Elizabeth Grant. The weather, a frigid tableau of winter's touch, seemed to mirror the cold reality that awaited within the dormitory walls. The detectives, with years of service between them, approached the scene with a practiced calm, though the gravity of the situation was not lost on them. They stepped into Melina Dimitriou's room, a space that spoke of a young woman's dreams, now overshadowed by the silence of death. The room was orderly, with textbooks neatly stacked on the desk and a laptop left open to a draft of an essay, no signs of a struggle or forced entry. The detectives took note of the mundane details: a half-drunk bottle of Dasani water, a cell phone charger dangling from the outlet, and a colorful array of sticky notes with reminders and motivational quotes. Marlowe and Grant began their meticulous work, combing through the scene for any out-of-place detail that might unravel the mystery of Melina's death. The absence of visible injuries on the body prompted a closer inspection for less obvious signs of foul play. Samples were collected with care, destined for the lab where science would speak for the silent victim. As the crime scene unit dusted for fingerprints and gathered fibers, the detectives speculated on the method of murder. The lack of violence suggested something insidious, perhaps a poison that left no trace on its swift path to claim a life. Their tools, a medley of swabs, tweezers, and evidence bags, were wielded with the precision of surgeons, capturing the smallest clues that might lead to a killer. Outside, the university community grappled with the news, a stark contrast to the national headlines of the day, which were dominated by the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas, where technology giants like Apple and Google were unveiling the future. Inside room 213 of Grafton Hall, however, the future had been stolen, and it was up to Marlowe and Grant to find justice for Melina Dimitriou. As the Plymouth State University community reeled from the shock of Melina Dimitriou's untimely death, attention swiftly turned to a figure well known within the dormitory corridors. Jebs Joligs Kabatunian, a 56-year-old janitor with more than a decade's tenure at the university, found himself under the piercing scrutiny of the Plymouth police. His was a familiar presence, one that had faded into the backdrop of college life until that fateful January morning. Kabatunian's narrative was one of quiet dedication to his work, his days marked by the unremarkable routine of maintenance and cleaning. Yet, his unobtrusive existence belied the aspirations he held close: a return to his native Philippines where the fruits of his labor would afford him a comfortable retirement. His dreams, modest yet deeply cherished, now hung in the balance as he faced questioning. Detective Marlowe, a man of few words but sharp instincts, led the interrogation. The setting was stark, the mood tense. Kabatunian sat across from the detectives, his hands folded, his expression a blend of confusion and fear. The janitor's proximity to the students' private spaces, his master keys that unlocked doors and secrets alike, made him an inevitable suspect in the investigation. The police probed with methodical precision, their inquiries spanning the breadth of Kabatunian's interactions with the students, his whereabouts on the night of the tragedy, and his access to potential toxins. The janitor, for his part, maintained a composed exterior, his responses measured and consistent. His cooperation was thorough, his demeanor betraying neither anger nor calm but rather a resignation to the process. As the world outside buzzed with news of the latest tech innovations from CES 2010 and the relief efforts in Haiti following a devastating earthquake, the small interrogation room in Plymouth, New Hampshire, became an arena of quiet confrontation. Kabatunian's life, once a tapestry of simple patterns, had been interrupted by a narrative twist that left his fate hanging on the words he spoke and the evidence the detectives had yet to uncover. The investigation took a harrowing turn when Jeremy Plinth, an 18-year-old Plymouth State University freshman, was discovered dead under circumstances eerily similar to those of Melina Dimitriou. Plinth, an environmental science major, was found lifeless in his own dormitory bed, a book on climate change left open beside him, marking yet another abrupt and tragic end to a promising young life full of aspirations. Jeremy, known amongst his peers for his fervent advocacy for sustainable living, had been vocal about his dreams of joining the burgeoning green movement, a topic that dominated discussions in the wake of the 2009 United Nations Climate Change Conference in Copenhagen. His social media profiles were a testament to his passion, often featuring posts about the latest eco-friendly initiatives and renewable energy technologies. The Plymouth police, now grappling with a potential serial poisoning on campus, widened their net, interviewing Jeremy's circle of friends, classmates, and anyone who might shed light on the connection between the two victims. The interrogations were conducted with a sense of urgency as detectives sought to piece together the last days and hours of Jeremy's life, searching for any overlap with Melina's activities or social interactions. Detective Grant, whose keen observation skills were complemented by an empathetic approach, led the questioning. She navigated the delicate balance between extracting information and offering comfort to those shaken by the events. The students, many of whom were still processing the news of the earthquake in Haiti and the relief efforts that had galvanized global attention, now found themselves at the center of their own unfolding tragedy. The responses varied from one interviewee to the next. Some were composed, others visibly shaken, but all were united in their disbelief and grief. As the investigation continued, the police were acutely aware that time was of the essence. With each passing day, the pressure mounted to uncover the truth behind the poisonings and to restore a sense of safety to a campus now overshadowed by fear and suspicion. On January 20, 2010, a breakthrough emerged in the somber winter landscape of Plymouth, New Hampshire. At precisely 10:15 a.m., as the morning sun cast a weak glow through overcast skies, a critical piece of evidence was discovered in the common room of Grafton Hall, home to the recently deceased Plymouth State University students. A discarded container, small and inconspicuous, was found tucked behind a cushion on a well-worn sofa, a place where students often gathered to watch shows like The Office on the communal television. The container, initially overlooked in the chaos that followed the deaths, now promised a potential link to the perpetrator of the poisonings. The Plymouth police, led by the meticulous Detective Marlowe, secured the container with latex-gloved hands, aware of its possible significance. The substance inside, a residue of unknown chemicals, was promptly sent to the state lab for analysis. The urgency was palpable. The detectives knew that the results could pivot the direction of their investigation and bring them closer to identifying the assailant. The lab's response was swift, as technicians employed the latest forensic technology, similar to the advancements showcased at the recent CES event in Las Vegas. The analysis revealed the presence of a rare toxin, one not commonly found in household products but more likely associated with a laboratory setting. This new evidence galvanized the police force, injecting fresh vigor into their efforts. The revelation that such a specific and lethal substance was used suggested a calculated mind at work, a mind with access to chemical compounds and the knowledge to use them with deadly precision. As the news of the discovery spread, the media, still saturated with coverage of the ongoing crisis in Haiti and the aftermath of the catastrophic earthquake, now had to make room for another narrative. One that spoke to the vulnerability of small-town America and the hidden dangers that can lurk in the most unsuspecting of places. The Plymouth police, with a renewed sense of purpose, revisited the campus, questioning faculty and students alike, all while the specter of the poisoner loomed large over the once peaceful university grounds. The grim narrative unfolding at Plymouth State University took another dark twist with the discovery of two more victims, Linda Chi and Reese Princeton, both 18-year-old freshmen found dead in their dormitory beds. The pair, like the previous victims, were poised on the cusp of adulthood, their aspirations tragically snuffed out by an unseen hand wielding a deadly poison. Linda, an aspiring pediatrician, had been deeply moved by the plight of children affected by the recent earthquake in Haiti, a sentiment she frequently expressed on her personal blog and to her peers. Reese, meanwhile, harbored dreams of tech entrepreneurship, inspired by the innovative spirit showcased at the 2010 Consumer Electronics Show, which had recently concluded in Las Vegas. As the Plymouth police delved into the lives of the two latest victims, the pattern of poisoning prompted a meticulous examination of their personal histories, relationships, and routines. Detectives sought to uncover any overlap with the lives of Melina Dimitriou and Jeremy Plinth, any thread that might tie the victims together beyond their shared fate. Interrogations were conducted with a blend of professional detachment and underlying empathy, as the police worked against the backdrop of a community in mourning. The campus, once abuzz with the excitement of a new semester and the prospects of the winter carnival, was now subdued, its collective consciousness dominated by fear and uncertainty. The suspects' responses to police questioning were as varied as their personalities. Some met the investigators' gaze with a steely calm, others with a simmering anger, struggling to comprehend the gravity of the situation. The police, meanwhile, remained steadfast in their pursuit of justice, their questions probing, their demeanor unyielding. As the investigation pressed forward, the world beyond Plymouth continued to turn. The iPad, Apple's latest creation, was making headlines, capturing the imagination of tech enthusiasts worldwide. Yet, for the students and faculty at Plymouth State University, such distractions were a world away, their attention firmly anchored by the grim reality that had invaded their once serene campus. The pieces of a macabre puzzle began to coalesce for the Plymouth police as they zeroed in on a suspect, Adam Holson White, a 22-year-old senior at Plymouth State University. A chemistry major known for his academic prowess, Adam's profile was a stark departure from the innocuous janitor and the grief-stricken student body that had previously drawn the attention of investigators. Adam, who had once walked the campus with an air of quiet confidence, was now at the center of a murder investigation that had left the small town of Plymouth reeling. His academic excellence, particularly in the field of toxicology, had granted him unfettered access to the very substances that had claimed the lives of 4 of his peers. The police, upon searching his dorm room, uncovered a trove of chemical literature and personal journals that painted a portrait of a young man plagued by anxiety and fear of the future. In the margins of his notes, scribbled thoughts revealed a mind grappling with the looming pressures of post-graduation life during the Great Recession, a time when even the most promising students faced uncertain job prospects. Adam's digital footprint further betrayed his inner turmoil. His recent search history included articles on the economic downturn and job market statistics, alongside chemical research that extended beyond the scope of his coursework. His online activity stood in stark contrast to the trending topics of the time, which included the much-anticipated release of James Cameron's Avatar and the global anticipation for Apple's rumored tablet device. The investigation revealed that Adam's meticulous nature had extended to his grim deeds. He had exploited his knowledge to concoct a poison that was both untraceable and lethal. His motive, as unearthed by detectives, was rooted in a desire to be apprehended, to be saved from the daunting prospect of forging a path in a world that seemed to offer no quarter to the youth of his generation. The morning of January 25, 2010, dawned with a biting chill that swept through the streets of Plymouth, New Hampshire. The clouded sky hung low over Plymouth State University as the police, armed with newfound evidence, prepared to apprehend the suspect in a series of poisonings that had shattered the campus's tranquility. Adam Holson White, a 22-year-old senior and chemistry major, was taken into custody without incident in his dormitory, a space that had once been his sanctuary of learning and now served as the backdrop for his unraveling. The police, having pieced together his movements and access to toxic substances, had found their alleged perpetrator. The arrest was a quiet affair, far removed from the sensationalized drama often depicted in popular crime shows like CSI, which dominated television ratings at the time. Adam, confronted by the reality of his situation, displayed a mix of resignation and shock. He had not anticipated the swift unraveling of his meticulously laid plans. Across the campus, students huddled in common rooms, their eyes glued to laptop screens streaming live news updates, a stark contrast to the usual viral videos and celebrity gossip that filled their social media feeds. The news of Adam's arrest spread rapidly, a digital wildfire fueled by tweets and status updates. The reaction of the victims' families was a complex tapestry of emotion. Relief at the prospect of justice was tempered by the irrevocable loss of their loved ones. As they grappled with the news, the wider community of Plymouth began to process the implications of the arrest. The sense of security that had been a hallmark of this small college town was irrevocably altered. Adam's arrest marked the beginning of a new chapter in the case, one that would see the legal system take the reins. For the families of Melina Demetriou, Jeremy Plinth, Linda Chi, and Reese Princeton, the arrest was a step toward closure, but the path ahead promised to be laden with the weight of grief and the search for understanding. The trial of Adam Holson White commenced amidst a climate of heightened media scrutiny and a community still reeling from the tragic events at Plymouth State University. The prosecution, led by the astute and relentless Laura Beckman, presented a narrative of premeditated murder, meticulously detailing how Adam, a chemistry major with a bright future, had descended into a calculated killer. Laura, a prosecutor with a reputation for her unyielding pursuit of justice, laid out the evidence with clinical precision. She spoke of Adam's access to rare chemicals, his academic knowledge put to nefarious use, and his digital trail that painted a picture of a man overwhelmed by the prospect of graduating into the uncertainty of the Great Recession, an era where even graduates from esteemed institutions faced the grim reality of unemployment. The defense, headed by the composed and strategic Daniel Roth, argued for leniency based on Adam's mental state. Daniel, known for his ability to humanize his clients in the eyes of the jury, highlighted the pressures facing today's youth, drawing parallels to the broader societal anxieties reflected in the media. From the unemployment figures headlining CNN to the personal stories of struggle shared on Oprah's influential platform. The courtroom, steeped in tension, bore witness to the emotional testimonies of the victims' families, who sat with bated breath, their sorrow a silent plea for justice. The verdict, when it came, was unanimous, guilty on all counts. The sentencing delivered by the judge was severe, a reflection of the gravity of the crimes and the lives so cruelly taken. Some in the gallery felt a measure of solace, a belief that justice had been served, while others debated whether the punishment truly fit the crime or if it could ever compensate for the loss of 4 promising young lives. The verdict rippled through the university, prompting discussions on campus safety and mental health, much like the national conversation sparked by the recent healthcare reform debates. For the families and friends of the victims, the verdict brought an end to one chapter of their ordeal, but the sentencing could not alleviate the enduring pain of their absence. As they left the courtroom, the reality set in. The sentence passed on Adam would reverberate through their lives forever, a constant reminder of the bright futures extinguished in the winter of 2010. In the wake of the trial that concluded with Adam Holson-White's conviction, the town of Plymouth, New Hampshire, and the community of Plymouth State University embarked on a journey towards healing and rebuilding. The once tranquil campus, shaken by the events that had unfolded, sought to restore a sense of normalcy while grappling with the profound loss of 4 of its students. The families of Melina Demetriou, Jeremy Plinth, Linda Chi, and Reese Princeton faced the monumental task of moving forward. Some channeled their grief into advocacy, working towards enhancing campus safety measures and promoting awareness about mental health issues, echoing the national conversation spurred by the Affordable Care Act and its implications for mental health care. Jebs Jaligs Kabatunian, the janitor initially swept up in the whirlwind of suspicion, returned to his duties, his name cleared but his spirit forever marked by the ordeal. He continued to save for his dream of a peaceful retirement in the Philippines, his quiet presence a reminder of the innocence that the trial had vindicated. Detectives John Marlowe and Elizabeth Grant, who had been the linchpin in solving the case, received commendations for their work. Yet, the accolades did little to erase the haunting memories of the investigation. They carried on with their duties, their experience at Plymouth State a stark reminder of the complexities hidden behind the facade of collegiate life. As for the students and faculty, the tragedy prompted a collective introspection about the pressures facing young adults. Discussions about the economy, mirrored in the wider world by the reporting of outlets like the Wall Street Journal, took on a new dimension as they considered the impact of societal stress on individual psyche. Life at Plymouth State resumed its rhythm, the seasons changing as they always had, but the memories of the winter of 2010 remained indelible. The university implemented new policies, including enhanced mental health services, reflecting a commitment to ensuring the well-being of its students, a commitment that was, perhaps, the only fitting tribute to the lives lost. The dark cloud that hung over Plymouth may have dissipated, but the scars remain. This has been True Crime Case Files. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the shadows of Plymouth, New Hampshire, where the pursuit of justice and the search for truth go hand in hand. Stay tuned for our next case file, where we'll uncover another tale that challenges our sense of security and our understanding of the human psyche. Hey, true crime case solvers, interested in more real-life murder mysteries? Be sure to like and subscribe to our channel. And do you have any thoughts about this case or have a case of your own you'd like us to investigate? Leave us a comment. Until then, stay safe, true crime case solvers.